Hegseth wants $5,000 a person for the Pentagon. Trump eyes strikes on Mali. Millions quit working. AOC fights merging our military with Israel. And ICE claims collapse. Good day. This is the Commonwealth Report, news for the public, not the powerful. You can follow us and subscribe at commonwealthreport.news. So why should we pay, for that matter, why should you pay $5,000 more for bombs? Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth marched up to Capitol Hill this week and demanded $1.5 trillion for the Pentagon. That's the biggest military budget in American history, even adjusting for inflation, and it's more than a 50% jump over what we spent last year. Economist Dean Baker did the math, and the extra spending works out to nearly $5,000 per household. Baker pointed out that we did just fine on $860 billion, more than China, Russia, Germany, India, and the United Kingdom spend combined. Senator Kirsten Gillibrand looked Hegseth in the eye and said, quote, "You're asking for unlimited money for bombs when people can't feed their families?" Nearly 60% of Americans say the Pentagon's budget is already too big. Senator Ed Markey is pushing a bill to cap defense spending at $750 billion. And tucked inside Hegseth's request is a $46 billion fund for artificial intelligence that would pour your tax money straight into private companies. Which companies? He won't say. So who is this really for? Elon Musk? It's not for you. It's for the war profiteers who cash the checks. Is Trump about to bomb an eighth country? The Trump administration is now weighing military strikes against Mali, a country in West Africa, going after an al-Qaeda affiliate called JNIM. If the president signs off, Mali becomes the eighth nation he's ordered strikes on since his second term began. 8 countries. Iran, Venezuela, Somalia, Yemen, Iraq, Nigeria, Ecuador, and now maybe Mali? This one's reportedly being pushed by Sebastian Gorka, one of the administration's hardliners. Remember when Trump ran as an anti-war candidate, the man who promised no new wars? Just this month, a drone strike hit near Mali's border with Algeria, and this push into Africa isn't only about chasing terrorists. It's also about critical minerals and beating back Russian and Chinese influence across the continent. Now he's bombing his way across the map, one country at a time, with no vote in Congress and no plan for what comes next. That's not strength. That's a president treating the whole world as target practice while working Americans foot the bill. Why are 105 million Americans not working? That's a number that ought to stop you cold. 105.8 million Americans are now out of the labor force. That means they're neither working nor looking for work. And it's an all-time record. In June alone, 832,000 people dropped out. We're now 2.2 million above the worst of the COVID shutdown and worse than the Great Recession. At the start of this century, only 68.7 million Americans sat on the sidelines. Now nearly 39% of adults are outside the workforce, the most since the 1970s. Since January alone, 2.5 million Americans have walked away from work entirely. Labor force participation has sunk to 61.5%, the lowest in 50 years outside the pandemic. Economists point to what they call a demographic cliff as the baby boomers retire in droves. But the 4.2% unemployment rate you hear in the news only looks low because so many folks have simply given up. When people stop believing there's a job worth chasing, that's not a healthy economy. That's a warning. AOC and a Republican are sounding the alarm on an Israel merger. Congresswoman Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez is warning that a provision buried in this year's defense bill would merge parts of the American military with the Israeli military. She's calling it an existential threat to American sovereignty. And she's not alone. Republican Thomas Massie is standing right beside her against it. The provision goes by a friendly name, the United States-Israel Defense Technology Cooperation Initiative. But foreign policy analyst Ben Freeman says it would tie our two militaries together tighter than we're bound to any other nation on earth and hand Israel enormous sway over American politics. Israel already runs weapons co-production plants in Mississippi and Arkansas. Analysts warn this deal could be permanent, locking America into a partnership that no future Congress could easily undo, and handing a foreign government a bigger foothold in our defense industry than any ally has ever had. Ocasio-Cortez put it plainly, quote, "Every member of Congress must vote no." She said, "The House votes today. Ask yourself who benefits when American sovereignty gets quietly signed away inside a spending bill that nobody reads." Are we ready for the next outbreak? While measles, hantavirus, and a nasty parasite called cyclospora spread across the country, the people who fight those outbreaks are getting laid off. Former CDC officials are sounding the alarm. 1,300 workers got termination notices, and while a few were called back, hundreds stayed gone. Dr. Joel Barrett ran the federal lab that tracks parasites. He watched his 11-person team shrink to 3, then quit. Now the cyclospora outbreak has sickened thousands across more than 30 states, with 2,600 cases in Michigan alone. And the response is crawling. Former CDC official Deborah Howry warned bluntly, quote, "The nation is in trouble." Another former official, Dimitri Deskalis, said the downsizing leaves us unprepared for daily public health, let alone a real emergency. The administration blames the government shutdown and calls the old CDC a bloated bureaucracy. And to be fair, some experts caution that this particular outbreak can't be pinned entirely on the cuts. But here's the truth. Germs don't care about politics. When you gut the people who keep watch, you find out the hard way, and so do your kids. ICE keeps crying vehicle attack, and the cases keep collapsing. Over and over, ICE and Homeland Security have justified arrests and even deadly shootings by claiming immigrants, quote, weaponize their cars against agents. A Guardian investigation looked at 26 cases the government promoted as proof of a vehicle attack surge. Guess what they found? Only one ended in an assault conviction. 15 people were never even charged. Of the 11 who were, 8 saw their charges dismissed. And the government kept pushing these stories to the press long after they fell apart. This all comes right after ICE officers shot and killed 2 men, Lorenzo Salgado in Texas and Juan Duran in Maine. During traffic stops, the agency defended the same way. A federal judge who reviewed similar claims in Chicago called them, quote, difficult if not impossible to believe, noting agents appeared to brake-check drivers to manufacture crashes. A leaked Homeland Security memo even warned its own agents to stop stopping in front of moving cars. Yet the agency still insists assaults on the officers have jumped more than 1,000%. When nearly every case collapses, you have to wonder whether the danger is real or manufactured to justify the crackdown. And that's the way it is today, Wednesday, July 22nd, 2026. I'm Thom Hartmann.